see a lot of different families, a lot of different makeups, single moms, single dads, or where both people are involved, or where grandparents are involved and parents are not involved at all. There's different struggles within those makeups also. So for single parents, they're on their own. They're the only ones taking care of that individual. Things that aren't really a struggle become a struggle because you're so tired and frustrated sometimes, right? You can't really take a deep breath and sit down on the couch because you have to start that next G-tube feed, or you have to start feeding somebody for the next hour, especially if there's more than one child. There's a body exhaustion too, and a psychological exhaustion of, you really lock people out because you just can't handle any more input. So I've worked with families where we don't talk that much, single parents, we just don't talk that much because they need their time. So once I'm there, they're happy to say, okay, have a great time and I'll see you later, because they can't have any input about what we're going to do or new activities or things like that. All they can really register to me is, he had a great BM this morning, he slept all day, have a good day, bye. And you got to learn how to not take that personally and learn that they have their own struggles. And, and when we get back or from what activity we're doing, or if they've gone out to pick up another child or just gone out to, run errands, and they get back and we tell them what they do, they're happy to hear it and they're really gracious and thank you so much for the support. And, so it's not that they don't want to be engaging. It's just hard for them to find a way of being engaging. And then sometimes there's the opposite, where they're needing that adult conversation that they want to talk so much or be with me so much that sometimes the child's care gets left behind, which is what I'm there for. And so it's this funny kind of balance that I have to go in and just be calm and say, what do you need today? What can I help you out with? And the only things I can help them out with is what they tell me. Unless there's dirty dishes in the sink, I can do those, not a big deal. So I just try to make it as pleasant as I can, and make sure their child has a good time, and that I've done everything I can do before I leave. And I always say, is there anything I can do before I leave? And sometimes they'll say no, but I feel like offering every time doesn't hurt, and eventually they say yes.
You'll come in, the next time there'll be a list for you.
Yeah, eventually everybody comes around and they totally say yes, and it's hard to have someone in your house, so I understand that. The challenge I find with couples who are married or together or living together sometimes is the marriage is one thing, and then taking care of the child is a separate thing, but they sometimes intertwine. And I am not married, so I hope I don't speak ignorantly about it, but sometimes I find that there's a resentment to the other partner because one person takes up the care, or...
Who's resenting whom? The one who's caring?
So the one who's caring for the child can resent the other person because not only are they not caring for their child, but they may be doing things that they just like to do. So whether it's playing tennis or going to yoga, and it's like, well, I don't get to do those things because I have to take care of the child. So sometimes I find it's hard for parents to balance it and say, well, you can do this while I can do this. And I sometimes provide that, right? So that they can both do their own things. Sometimes I go in and it's really hard because I have to be the fly on the wall. I can't really listen to the conversations and the arguments because I'm not there for that. I'm there for the child. And that's really hard. And I can't become involved in any of it. There have been times where I've had to, out of human nature, support one person over the other because I see a real, I don't like to use the word abusive, but I see an abusive situation. And any one of us can be abusive with our words at any time and not even realize it. But sometimes I see that and I have to support one person over the other because that's what is good for the child in general too, right? I've seen families through divorce and separation. It's really hard, but sometimes just being there and being that extra person really helps. Sometimes I really don't meet another parent. I only meet a mom or I only meet a dad, even though they're together. Just because that's the makeup, that's the way things work. I get a lot of questions about how do I get my husband more involved, or how can I help getting my wife taking him to doctor's appointments. So there's a number of things when it comes to, you know, being in a family relationship. And then sometimes staff will call me and say, a grandmother was really rude to me. How do I deal with that situation? And I'll give them steps of, you know, make sure when you come in, you know, you always greet them and, you know, you're always respectful. And if it seems like they're being rude to you, go through your steps of what you're going to do with the child so they can hear you, though. Because sometimes the anxiety of especially somebody who may be older of this needs to be done this way is because they don't know what you're going to do. So sometimes if you go through, I'm going to bring you in and we're going to wash our hands in a sec, I'm just going to do this first, we'll calm that down. Because you can't necessarily go back to a family member unless they've been horrible and say, hey, don't yell at the worker, or hey, don't tell them what to do, because you don't want to offend them either, right? And it's a grandparent. They're doing it from a place in their heart that none of us get until we're grandparents. Because I'm not a therapist, I'm not a parent, I'm not married. So I come at it from a very different avenue of sometimes what can seem to be harsh, but I think also is what people eventually see as, oh, that makes sense.
Well, it's objective.
Yeah, definitely.
And you also have the benefit of having worked with dozens, maybe hundreds.
Yes.
I don't know how many now, but
definitely dozens.
yeah, at least, multitudes. Just, so you have a wide range of experiences that families don't.
Yeah. And a lot of times I'm the first worker a family has hired.
Right.
So that's always interesting because they are getting used to having someone in their home, and, and I'm just going along doing what I can. And sometimes I have to go, wait, Marjorie, slow down. They're only here, so you need to meet them here. You can't be up here.
Right.
I work with children who are 6 months old. So if I go in and a child is 6 months old, I have a lot of experience. I get how it's hard. So that's why sometimes I do have to step back and let people learn on their own and figure things out, or lead by example. So I'll just do something and they'll go, oh, that's a great idea. I've never thought of doing it that way. And it's just natural. It's not that I say, I'm going to do this so they can see me. Right. It's all just natural. Sometimes I feel bad, and it's weird, but sometimes I feel bad for taking their child out and having a great time, because I know that's not how their days always go, because, somebody's arm was stiff this morning and wouldn't get through a t-shirt, like little things like that. And they didn't eat fast enough, so they were late for their bus, or, the teacher sent them home without a blanket again, and now they're feverish and they may have a cold or something like that. So I know that's not how their days always go. So sometimes I feel it does. You can feel it when you come home and you go, we had this great time. The parents go, oh, must be nice for you.
Right. Because those aren't experiences they had with their child.
Yeah. So I've developed, I now tell parents, and I tell parents the truth. I've always told them the truth, but I tell them the bad stuff too, because I think it helps them recognize that things aren't always perfect, and there are rough times and, tough things that happen. And I have a hard time too sometimes, and things don't always go my way. And I joke with them, and we have a general conversation like, oh, we went out and we went to visit the fire station, but, he seemed really tired and his head was falling over and I just couldn't get him up. And, oh, it was such a rough, go. And then he didn't nap, and, but we still had a good day. It could have been worse, there's this dialogue, and there's right. This, parents are always happy to know what their kids are doing. It doesn't even matter if, it was a rough day, and, I find sometimes medical things become a problem. So it's like, how many seizures did he have today? And I'll say, oh, he had 6. But he also walked really well and held my hand and, was listening and, just to try to calm down the, oh my gosh, 6 seizures. Because you're right, it can focus on the, oh, I'm so tired and now you've had this great day with my kid. And I'm a positive person, so I always try to look at things on the brighter side, even though sometimes there are the things that happen in our life for sure, and I'm not ignoring them. And I don't want people to feel like I'm ignoring the things that actually happen, the medical things that happen, and but I also want to show them that things could be worse. And I've worked in situations where things are worse, and your child is healthy and they're okay and they're coming home and they're not going back to a hospital. And so I try to show sometimes those things, or I demonstrate sometimes exactly what I did to get them to laugh that way, because a parent will look at a picture and go, what did you say to him, or what did you say to her to get her to laugh that hard? I'll say, oh, I said this, you should try it. Like,
right.
Or how did you ask him if he, a child who is nonverbal, I'll say, oh, I asked him if he wanted to go to the mall and he said yes. Well, how did you ask him? How do you know he wanted to go? So things like taking pictures, we all have smartphones now. So I really try to make them as much part of the experience so they don't feel as resentful about it.
Right.
And I find that does help a lot. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, again, it's from an internal thing. But it comes along slowly.
Right.
Everybody is at a different stage of how they feel about their relationship with their child in general. So it can take time sometimes, because all they see is the medical stuff, or all they see is the disability. Whereas I don't know how to do that. I always recognize that I get to go home at night by myself. And, I'm not always doing the luxurious things of making myself a nice dinner and sitting down in front of the TV. I don't even have cable because I'm not home enough. But I recognize that I do get breaks. And somebody who is taking care of a child full time does not get breaks. I do a lot of overnight care. I'm actually doing overnights this weekend. And I did them last weekend, and I'm doing them next week for the whole week. So I do a lot of overnight care. But at the end of that, I get to go home with nobody, by myself, on my own. And parents aren't getting that same break. They are 365 days a year on, even when they're not. Even if the parents that I'm providing breaks to right now, who are at a music festival or something like that, they texted me this morning at 6 a.m. and I said, go to bed. What are you doing? Right? You don't have to get her up for school. I'm going to get her up for school. And we just wanted to make sure everything was okay. As a mom or a dad, you're always on. You're always wondering what your kids are doing and making sure, everything's okay and keeping them safe, right? Even when you're not there. And I don't take it as that they don't trust me or, oh no, why are they calling? I totally know where it's coming from. I need to check up on my child. So yeah, I'm getting more breaks than the average parent, or having to feed a child for an hour and then clean everything out and then get them ready for bed and then bathe them. And, the physical child, if you have to move somebody from every room to room to room, the physical demand on your body is overwhelming. When I see parents and they're exhausted and, I give them a hug and how are you doing? And, try to be as supportive as I can. And I realize that might provide a little bit of support, but sometimes that's all they need, is they need somebody just to recognize it. A lot of times there's no family to help either, or there is family, but they don't know how to help. At the end of the day, when you're ready to accept whatever your child has brought to you, there's things you just can't fix. And you don't have to accept everything. But you have to be able to be open to it, because some things aren't going to change. And it sucks, and it's shitty, and it's okay to say that. I think being your own person is the most important thing, and remembering who you are, and if something strikes you the wrong way, to think about it, but to stay strong in it. I've been in tough situations. I've been traveling with families and things like that where I'm going, But at the end of the day, a kiss on the head and a hug to that child, it, you know, kind of makes me go, okay, this too shall pass. I think of all the parents that say, oh, my kid rolled off the bed and I'm the worst mom ever. You know what? My able-bodied sister skipped down the stairs and broke her leg and her mom was at the top of the stairs. So, you know, it happens and things are going to be okay, and children are resilient, and children sometimes who have needs are more resilient, and, you know, some kids, all they can really learn is love, and to make sure that your love is pure and genuine and unfailing. And, you know, at the end of the day, that might not seem like enough, but it is.